Just a Job is the podcast for the modern woman to redefine what success looks like. We highlight real women and their real stories.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Just a Job with Sarah and Ellen. I just blinked. That's how I am
Happy
today.
Monday.
Happy Monday. Well, so we're recording this on Wednesday, and Ellen and I both have today off. And we just want to jump right into it. Ellen, thoughts on a 4-day work week?
The way I feel just so revitalized today. I know this isn't like the traditional 4-day work week setup, but working 2 days, having a day off, and then going back for 2 days, that is the secret sauce. I have not had a more productive day. Wait, I just said that weird. Today was very productive. That's what I'm trying to say. I had time to do everything whether it was like stuff that I just wanted to do myself or like stuff I needed to get done. It was and like my day is still not over. Like I still have time to go do things, and it's just lovely. It needs to be adopted far and wide.
I agree. I was talking with Michael. I was like, I'm trying to decide if I had the choice for a 4-day work week, would I rather have Friday off or would I rather have Wednesday off? And I don't quite know. I feel like if I could flex it depending on the week, 3 days off would be nice. But I feel like having the sprinkle of the Wednesday allows me to just really feel like revitalized midweek. And then I have a weekend. I still have 2 days. So I think I would prefer that, honestly. Unless I was going on vacation, I could leverage like a 3-day work week or 3-day weekend.
Mm-hmm.
But
it's so like I got so many things done today, and I feel like, dare I say, ready to go back to work tomorrow. It's like, oh, less scary. You know what I mean?
you want to send that juice over here?
Yeah. I'll pass it through the computer. Although one of the errands I had to run, I went to the mall to I was looking for a birthday present for someone and then this specific skirt for me. One, the birthday present was not there, and then the skirt was also out of stock. So I swung and missed at the mall today. So of all things, that's my one complaint from today.
And you went to the mall and you got to get out of the house and socialize a little bit or be around people. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Lovely. I'm glad that you had a great day.
Yes. So huge fan of the 4-day work week over here.
Agreed.
Might have to do that as a search in my next job wherever I land. So that's my thoughts on that.
Agreed. Thanks for sharing.
Anytime. I don't have really any other exciting things. I went on a really nice work walk the other day by myself. Usually I take a friend, but I was like in that one of those moods where I just needed to go walk by myself. Mm-hmm. It was like 72 degrees and sunny. I got my little iced coffee and I walked around and I was like, this isn't that bad. I'm enjoying this.
Swirling the iced coffee.
Yeah.
This is it. This is the life.
Totally. It was so nice. So
it is good to have those. You have to have those moments. And initially I felt guilty taking walks during the workday, but then I'm like, no, it's important. I have to do these things.
A little bit of exercise.
Good for you.
So
getting out.
Unfortunately, not a ton of updates over here. That's like honestly as exciting as it gets. So
yeah. So I guess that's a good thing, right?
Yeah.
We're gonna head into Sarah's episode. We met Sarah. We'll explain the whole story actually of how we met Sarah, but had a lovely time with her. She's very inspiring, and if you aren't already, you should follow her on LinkedIn, and we'll include everything in the show notes. So enjoy your Monday. Have a great week, and remember, it's just a job. We'll see ya. Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we are joined by Sarah Ng. Sarah is the founder of Start With Hello, where she helps women in tech fall back in love with their career through coaching. After many moves, career changes, which I'm very excited to hear about, and 20 plus jobs, she's finally found her career which lights her up, filled with trips to Italy and people she can laugh and create big ideas with. She comes with over a decade in tech and engineering and VC. Sarah, welcome to the pod. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for reading that intro. It just felt like I was living that life in Italy and laughing with people. It felt so good.
You deserve all the praise. I am so excited to have you on the pod today. This, again, I say it every time. I'm like, it's the power of networking coming into play, like really truthfully. So,
Mhm.
Sarah, I originally, I think, found you through Alpha, which is a platform that's
Mm,
primarily focused on women's career. And I think that you had a post actually talking about your career evolution, and there was some like very catchy title about, like pizza to engineer or something along those lines.
yes,
And I
that's
was like, yes, I was
exactly.
like, what is this story? And I remember just like through your storytelling, it was like we were sitting in a room with you and you were just so like captivating with your
Aw.
words and your experience. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need to reach out to her. So then we became, obviously, like, I think we connected on Alpha and then connected on LinkedIn. And I was like, her story is perfect. And exactly like who you're working with too on like a client basis is perfect. So that is the story of how Sarah and I met. So
Yeah, I had never heard that story. Was expecting to be like, and then we became best friends, and I was like, yeah, and you're like, and then now she's on the podcast. So I was like, cool, okay.
okay.
First
Yeah,
steps
6 months
first.
from now. Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Best friends. There's always one story ahead of the other. But
Right.
Sarah, take us back to young Sarah. What did you want to be when you
Mm.
grew up?
Yeah, I wanted to be a lot of things, which will come as no surprise given my background now and what I do. I wanted to be a professional tennis player. I played tennis competitively. I started at 6 years old, and I was like, yeah, I'm so short, but I was like, yeah, professional athlete, I can do that. And then I wanted to be a writer.
Mm.
And I just loved coming up with stories and imagining things and then being able to like put it out there and people would be interested and read it. So I really love that aspect.
My goodness. A writer. I think that's the first time we've heard a writer on the pod.
Really?
I think
Yes.
so.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You know what? I think it is I was an English major in undergrad, so I'm like, they were a dime a dozen, but given the context, it makes a little more sense.
I always really enjoyed English. Like it was a class that I did well in English and not in math. So that was the my
Hmm.
balancing act there. So I can definitely relate enjoying literature and reading and writing. So I definitely relate to you in that. But you mentioned doing that in college. So what led you from your childhood dream to trying to make a decision on what you wanted to focus and study on in school?
Oh, that's a good story. So my parents, immigrant parents, my dad was like, money, like this is the way for success and security too.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, you need to do business. So I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I went into business, got like a scholarship for it, even was like in the dorm building for like entrepreneurship. So like really committed to this thing I had no idea about. And then I took an English class. I remember it was like with Professor Davidson, and he was like, "You're really good at this." And I'm a sucker for this. Isn't a story like patting myself on the back. It's just that I'm a sucker for a compliment. So I was like, "Oh, I'm good at this." Like, okay. And so I switched my major like almost immediately.
Mm.
And I just really loved the part that I just get. I mean, people make fun of this part of being an English major, but like just getting to read for my major and there's more to it, but it just felt like it felt really aligned with what I was interested in, and I didn't know what the
Mm,
game plan was for the future. I just knew it was fun at that time.
mhm.
Oh, I love that. Like tapping into your interests. Cause I think so often in college,
Mm,
you're the first time you're exposed to like opportunity, for 18 years of your life, you're like, you're told what to do, told what to do. And then college,
yeah.
you're told what to do. But at some point, you're kind of like, this stinks. I don't enjoy it. Or I'm like, it's just
Hmm.
draining me. And when you find something, especially at that age where it's like, oh, I really enjoy it. Cause I feel like a lot of times, myself included, it's like you jump into it because you're told to do it. It's a good field and you don't really give yourself
Yeah.
the chance to kind of like explore. So it's amazing that you got to do that. And then
Hmm.
I'm curious, like the transition out of school, like looking at jobs and trying to understand like what next step did you take?
Yeah, what did I do afterwards? I did a lot of traveling. Like I would
Oh, amazing.
say my mom was kind of like, "Oh my God, you're going to turn into like her words, washed up hippie and like have no career trajectory." And I was like going to Europe, and then I was scuba diving in Southeast Asia, and getting certified there. I thought that's what I wanted to do with my life, just like travel around with the
Mhm.
seasons and teach scuba diving. what did I actually, I mean, in addition to that, I was like, honestly, just like trying to work jobs, save up like 3 or 4 thousand, and then
Mhm.
spend it all in my travels. And I was like a virtual receptionist. I worked at Old Navy, but I think that was before university. Yeah, so virtual receptionist. I worked at a like a bakery, you know, like I worked as a receptionist at like a realty company. So really, just
Mm.
things of like this isn't the long term. I wasn't even
Mhm.
Mhm.
thinking that far ahead. It was just like, how can I have fun, like travel while I can?
Yes. This is sounding somewhat familiar to a previous interview that we did with a friend of ours named Alyssa, who
Mhm.
she got her undergrad in, I think it was communication, Sarah, if
Mm.
that's correct, journalism.
Mhm. Mhm.
And she traveled, went to Southeast Asia, and tried to do scuba diving as well. So I'm kind of laughing
Wow.
at the parallels there.
Yeah, yeah.
So you are passionate about traveling. Which I don't blame you. It sounds absolutely fabulous, especially to be able to take advantage of the time and opportunity when you're younger and you're putting all of your passion there. You're finding just odd end jobs to make ends meet, to be able to fuel that passion of traveling. Was there a time in which you said, okay, I need to be more serious, or did an opportunity come and find you? What was that next
Hmm.
step like?
Yeah. So I was at a point, I think I was 24, where I
Mhm.
was thinking, what am I really interested in? Not thinking long term, but just like, where do I want to go for? I remember I was considering the Peace Corps and I was like, 2 years, that's so long. That's how long the program is. I can't fathom it. But at that time, I was thinking, what about therapy? Like, I really
Mhm.
love helping people, listening. I'm great at listening to people's stories and then like helping, holding that space for them. And
Mhm.
so I applied to grad school, got in, and then was like, whoa, hit with the realization of this is 3 years. I'd be landlocked to a location and it's 60,000 a year. Like the math isn't mathing here with the
Yeah.
Mhm.
salary.
Mhm.
And I'm 24. I'm single. I'm going to tell people about marriage and family and I have no kids. Like I can do this later. And so at that point, I also had a roommate who went to a coding boot camp. And she was the first one that really introduced me to coding, what it could be. She like spent an evening with me, like in our living room, just showing me, like, oh, you can do this and make a heading, and this is HTML. And I was like, okay, interesting. So I
Mhm.
decided to go to the coding boot camp with the intention of always going back to grad school to be a therapist, but at least like building some of my savings up and like pursuing this other pathway that sounded interesting. And I wanted to
Mhm.
see if it was really only for smart people, which it is not.
I
Oh my gosh. My like premature idea of coding is I was a journalism mass communications and
Mm,
there was a computer information. I feel like the like code was like CIS or something. And it was like an intro to coding class and I loved
yeah.
math. But I knew that I was not going to love this and I put it off until the very
Mm.
last semester of my senior year. So it was one of those classes where like I'm 22 with a bunch of 18-year-olds and I remember learning it, and I was like, "Oh my god, is it a comma or semicolon?" Like I like
How
I
many
Yeah.
remember.
backslashes?
Oh my gosh! And then like when you try to have a study buddy in a class that you're not super familiar with, and I'm like hanging out with
Hmm.
teenagers, and I'm like supposed to be this adult, and
Yeah,
it was one of those
totally.
very humbling experiences. But it sounds like it definitely piqued your interest. What was it like going into that coding boot camp? Was it like on campus somewhere? Was it completely remote, virtual? I'm
Yeah,
super
yeah.
curious about that.
I was in Portland, Oregon, and I was like, I don't want to do it in Portland. I want to move. This is my hometown. And so I moved to Chicago for the best best weather. It was
Ooh,
January to March. And there's more
lovely.
to that story. I moved out in March to Austin.
Mm,
But it was
better.
all in person. And I can so relate to your experience, Sarah. It was like, I call it my crying and coding period. Like I'm in Picasso or
Ooh.
something. It was so hard in the
Mhm.
sense of like, there's these younger people or people who have math degrees